Greetings, brothers. Good evening. Hello, welcome to this week's Army List show. We're looking at, armies from... I don't know how many people, let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, Kyle, Drysu, Eric, KWSS, Life RPG, and Matthew Bishop. Good evening. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. 1 second, I can't see the chat on my screen. Let me just fix that. Cool. Still can't see the chat on my screen. Why can't I see the chat on my screen? Let me see. Might have closed the window accidentally just as I start streaming. Good evening, though. Afternoon, James. I'm seeing somebody's chat. Let me see if I'm seeing anyone else. Cool. Yeah, I am. Dark Ginger, Rezio, Living Ghost, Christian. Good evening. Good evening. Hey, John. How you doing? Thanks for being here, guys. And let's get into some army lists. If you do want to submit your list to the channel, you know you can do that. Good evening, Mike. Thanks for being on the stream live last night as well, Mike. You can head over to Blood Angels Commander YouTube. Just hit 11k subscribers, actually, so that's cool. Hit community, and then in here, in the latest community post, just hit comment and drop your army list in there, and I will find it, and I will add it to the queue. The queue is a couple of weeks at the moment. I think we actually do have 6 lists submitted for next week. Yeah, so I guess if you submit a list tonight, you'll be on the show in about 2 weeks' time. Battle for Salvation finalist streaming. Yeah, there was a big tournament streaming yesterday as well. So, if people want to watch the live games, by all means, you can always catch this on the replay. I don't mind. I do appreciate everybody watching. I do also really appreciate it if you would hit that like button if you ever feel like you get any value out of these streams, because the YouTube algorithm needs to know, I guess, that you like the video. So hit the like button when you're watching. I do appreciate it. All right. Kyle, let's try. I hope I'm saying his name right. Kyle, I guess. Let's see if I think Kyle's been around in the channel for a while. So he says, "Hello, I've been revising my list since I submitted it. Here's what I currently run my 8-man playgroup: Relentless Assault, Death from Above, and Retrieving Atman Data as secondaries." Death from Above is one that I never really consider. I don't feel like I start enough stuff in reserve, but it seems like a few people are starting to take it. Chaplain, Sanguinary Guard, Scepters, Terminators, Dante all start in Deep Strike. It's a lot to start in Deep Strike, isn't it? Assault, Intercessors. I wonder how weak that makes your first turn. If you have the Chaplain, who's 105 points, the Sangard, the Inceptors. Sangard are 160, the Terminators are 220, the Inceptors are 240, and then Dante as well. I mean, you're starting 900 points off the board. Oh, I don't like it. Assault Intercessors in strategic. Oh, and you're also putting Intercessors in strategic reserve. Okay. Chaplain auto litanies to give me +2 rerollable charges. Eliminators and Venerable Dread giving me some good shooting on turn 1. Storm Talon scores turn 1 Relentless Assault and occasionally turn 2 if I can position it well. Okay, let's see what we've got. You got the Chaplain with the Master of Sanctity, so it's going to cost you 1 CP to get that Canticle of Hate off. If he is the Master of Sanctity, you can pick another power here, right? Because you've had to upgrade him. And when you upgrade him, you can get a second power. So, I mean, I imagine you should take Mantra of Strength. I see no reason not to take Mantra of Strength here as your second power. Give his weapon a bit more oomph. We got Mephiston with Quickening, Unleash Rage Wings. We got Dante, who's the Warlord. Alright. Assault Intercessors, Incursors, and Incursors. Blade Guards, ×5. Sanguinary Guard, ×5. Axes, Swords, and Infernal Pistols. Terminators, all with Thunder Hammers, which I don't like. I feel like the Terminators are better if you have a couple of guys in the squads with Lightning Claws and the Teleport Homer in here. I just think that sometimes you'll end up fighting 1-wound models, and if you are, Thunder Hammers are really inefficient. Venerable Dreadnought with the Multi-Melta and a Heavy Flamer. Inceptors with Plasmas. Eliminators with Las Fusils ×2, one with Quake Bolts, and then a Storm Talon Gunship. Alright, well, we don't see many people run Blood Angel Storm Talon, but I guess the idea is to do Relentless Assault with it and just throw it in the opponent's deployment zone. It moves 50 inches, I guess, 10 wounds, -1 to hit, toughness 6. is equipped with a missile launcher, which is basically an autocannon with D3 damage rather than 3 damage, and a twin assault cannon. Okay, I mean, for 165 points, it doesn't actually pack that much punch. I guess it's got a really good movement rate, so that makes up for it. What do I like about the list? Well, one, I mean, I don't like putting 900 points of units into um, try and score death from above. Like a 7-inch charge, a rerollable 7-inch charge. I wonder if I can pull up the math for that. Yeah, maybe. So if you roll 2d6 and you need at least a 7, it's 58%. So if you do 100 minus 58 leaves 42, and then times that by 0.58 again and add that to original 58, you still only have an 82% chance of charging. 82% of chances of charging. I've been tired all weekend, Rezio. My kids, they've been crying a lot this weekend. I had a really bad headache earlier. I don't know why they've been crying so much. Yeah, happens, I guess. Tough weekend for the kids for some reason. Okay, so I don't like starting that much stuff in reserve. I guess you won't see that much stuff started in reserve typically in big tournaments either. Yeah, all Thunderhammers and the Terminators feels like the wrong choice. I'd like a couple of guys with Lightning Claws. The Venerable seems fine. Plasma and Scepters, I guess, are fine. I mean, I don't think they're brilliant right now. Obviously, high power Plasma is very risky. Blade Guard are... I mean, Blade Guard, you said you wanted to do Relentless Assault and Death from Above. I mean, Blade Guard don't synergize with any of that. I would much rather you take more Sanguinary Guard. I think Blade Guard have lost quite a bit of their strength. Like, I've had a conversation actually with Reziel on this, and we think the best way to play Blade Guard is probably like a 3-man squad. Hey, thanks so much for subscribing, Kevin. I do appreciate it. A 3-man squad sitting defensively, holding an objective, maybe in cover, I think is really, really good. Blade Guard pushing across the table, I'm not so big a fan. I think that you'll probably end up with one turn where the Blade Guard are left in the open. They don't have Armor of Contempt. I mean, they'll get shot. They'll get shot to hell if they're in the open, and that's why I think you're just better off running 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard. I think if you drop two Thunderhammers out this and went Lightning Claws, that would give you 20 points. That would give you 195 points. 195 points would actually give you like a really good sized squad of Sanguinary Guard, or it could give you a killer squad of Death Company. You know, if Forlorn Fury is genuinely a really good tool. Why Lightning Claws in Armor of Contempt? Because you might not fight Armor of Contempt units. You might fight Orcs, for example, who are 1 wound and only have a 6-up save. So Lightning Claws are going to do really well against Orcs because you're going to get to reroll their hits. You're going to get to reroll their wounds because it's Lightning Claws. And 1 wound models are 3... You know, you get 6 attacks on a Terminator charging. With Lightning Claws, whereas with a Thunderhammer you get 4. So into 1 wound models. Yeah, John says Necron Warriors as well. Yeah, if you're fighting Necron Warriors, Thunderhammers are going to be really inefficient. I like having a Thunderhammer on the Sergeant, and I think last time I ran 3 Thunderhammers and 2 Lightning Claws. 2 guys with Lightning Claws gives you 12 attacks with Lightning Claws. So, and again, if you make your squads if you make them that they can do multi-purpose, right? Like, if you're fighting against an army and you know all the enemies are just 1 wound models, then when you take casualties on the squad, take them on the Thunderhammers, because you know they're inefficient. Whereas if you're fighting an army where it's all Knights or something and Lightning Claws are going to be really inefficient, then take it on the Lightning Claws guys, right? Your squad's going to take casualties. And that's why I recommend, like, with Sanguinary Guard right now, mainly swords, because there's a lot of Armor Contempt and I guess squats running around. But if you're into Orcs or something, then Axes are going to be way better for Sanguinary Guard into Orcs, right? Because they're toughness 5, so you're going to wound on 2s rather than 3s like the swords. And the AP is kind of irrelevant against Orcs because they don't really have that good saves anyway. So -2 is probably either going to put them on no save or a 6. And I guess if you get to Assault Doctrine, -3 is probably good. And you know, most Orcs, I think even their transports and vehicles have a 4-up save. So -3 in turn 3 from the Axes is going to mean no save period. So that's why I like to vary my squad. I don't think you need the Haywire Mine on the Assault Intercessors. I kind of am okay with you putting the power fist on the assault intercessor squad. But I honestly think I'd probably just do a power sword. I think I'm going to make a power sword assault intercessor. I think that's a good sergeant. Campbell says 3 hammers and two lightning claws is a good balanced approach. And yeah, I think balanced. I think balance just gives you more flexibility in terms of like who you're playing against and how the game goes. And lightning claws, when you use Fury of the First to give them +1 to hit, are still really good as well. You know, it's like 12 hits hitting on 2s. And I mean, he's got Quake Bolts here, so you don't even need Fury of the First. You can get those lightning claws hitting on 2s with right from a Quake Bolt, which is also going to be really good. So things I don't like are the Blade Guard, the Terminator loadouts. I'm not a huge fan of my Inceptors personally. I mean, but if you want to run them, you can run them. The gunship, I guess, seems fine, but we don't often see it. I would probably rather run a Death Company for Forlorn Fury. Yeah, sorry, for like Relentless Assault turn 1. But I mean, I guess if you've got the gunship, then and a Death Company, you could really put on a bit of turn 1 pressure. And then the only other thing to say, I suppose, on this list is that and even with the +2 to your charge and a reroll from the Icon of the Angel, it's still only 82% chance. So if you bring in like 2 or 3 units for charges, you almost have to assume one of them is going to fail. And like I've said it a couple of times on stream, I dislike, and sometimes I dislike in general making, like, because we know a 9-inch charge with a reroll is 66% chance with the +1 for Blood Angels, or 65%. So it works 2 out of 3 times. But I dislike playing in tournaments. Like, I would rather in tournaments, you know, like, use maths and tactics to my advantage, as opposed to just rolling the dice on, hey, if I don't make this 9-inch charge, I probably lose the game. And I mean, sometimes you have to with Blood Angels, I feel like, because we're not the highest tier army at the moment. So maybe it's fine to just say, like, hey, I really need to make this 82% charge. If I don't make it, this is going to be a bad game for me. I mean, 8 out of 10 times that's decent odds, but I would prefer to just not have to take that gamble. And I do think it is a gamble. To be fair, I think 180 points you can take 6 Angry Guard. Possibly the best Space Marine unit in the game. Boring, I know, but true. Yeah, I mean, 180, you would have 195 points here, so you could literally take 6 with 2 Infernal Pistols, John. That's probably what I would do. But you could also go like a Death Company with, I mean, you could do a Death Company with like 4 hammers and Infernal Pistols, or 3 hammers and 2 Infernal Pistols. I don't think Terminators are bad per se, in that, like, they can be super durable. You know, what is it, like, Storm Shield Terminators are on a 1-up save? Or, yeah, they're on a 1-up save, aren't they? So, like, if they get hit with -2, it's still a 3-up save on the Storm Shield Terminator. So if you put them on cover, if they get hit with -2, it's still a 2-up save, and they got 3 wounds, and a lot of the meta currently is 2-wound weapons. Like, there's so many 2-wound weapons out there. So in some ways, I do think Assault Terminators are quite a bit more survivable than Sandguard. But again, it just depends if you're happy to roll that dice on. They're gonna need to make an 8 or 9-inch charge. There's no two ways about that. The thing about Sandguard is you can jump from cover to cover, and you can make like a 4-inch charge, right? So, yeah, if that's something you're willing to do, and like sometimes we can be in a tough spot in the meta, and you just sort of have to do it, and that's it. Okay, next list. Drysu, and Drysu's usually here. I've seen him in a bunch of streams. Oh, he was here earlier. Okay, so hopefully he's watching. I enjoy your content. You keep up the great job. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. All right, so you're using the Vanguard detachment with 3 CP. You've got 1,300 points. You got quickening and wings on a regular librarian. Interesting choice. I think if you're just going to run a regular librarian, like if you've got no psychic powers or no like upgrades on this guy, I would definitely buy Mephiston and spend the 25 points. I think the 25 points you get on Mephiston is going to give you like 1 more power, 1 more deny, He's going to have more strength on his sword. He's going to have more attacks. He's going to have more wounds. He's got feel no pain. He's got more toughness and strength, and he's got a better save. I mean, 25 points compared to a regular librarian. Oh, you've got the jump pack. Okay, all right. Interesting. I guess we'll see where we go with this. If I don't know if I mean, unless you're trying to do some sort of like Blade of Sanguinius with this guy and pick a weak enemy character. We don't have that many attacks. 5 4-sword attacks. It seems a bit risky. Okay, Death Company 5 hammers. Death Company 5 hammers. Consider one of these squads with slightly different loadout, in my opinion. And the reason for that is, what if you play against an enemy where all their shit's in transports? Because I did it recently at a tournament, and I didn't Forlorn Fury my Death Company because I was like, great, I'm going to kill a 95-point transport with a 180-point squad, and then their guys are going to be left in the open, and they'll just mop me up. And Death Company are supposed to trade up. If they don't trade up, then you're struggling with them, right? Sangre Guard, all swords, and you've got 3 squads of 8. Which is probably too many. I don't think you need squads of 8 of Sangre Guard. I've been running 6s most recently. I thought 7s was the sweet spot, but maybe just because of the points in my list, I've been running 6s, and I've been finding 6s generally pretty fine. 7s probably are preferable to 6s, but I mean, points are points. Sometimes you just can't fit stuff in. I don't 100% don't think you want 8 though, because if you lose 5 or 6 of them, the morale test is going to be really nasty. You're probably just going to lose the whole squad anyway, so I really wouldn't go more than 7 on Sangard. I'd take the points and do something else. And then Eradicators with melt rifles. Second detachment is a patrol detachment, and we have Captain with the Hammer of Baal and Rites of War, which is cool. I mean, Rites of War is an amazing warlord trait. I think it's so important. We've got Dante with Heroic Bearing. I guess Heroic Bearing helps a little bit for those big squads of Sangre Guards leadership, but still, I still don't think I would go with 8s. You've got Assault Intercessor squad in here. You've got an Aggressor with squad with Flamers, and then we've got 2 Last Fusel squads, and everybody's got Last Fusels, even the Sergeants. Okay. Death Company Terminators would be great, says John. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get that. I think the next thing we'll get is probably jump packs for the Death Company. I think that must be coming. Yeah, I think... I was going to say, if you save 90 points on 3 Sangard here, and you dropped like 2 hammers and replaced them with infernal pistols, that would be 110 points. That could let you add, like, you know, we just talked about it another. You could add 5-man Blade Guard veteran squad that's going to be very defensive. You could afford Mephiston plus something else, an attack bite, Kalan speeder. Honestly, an OBSEC unit of Incursors might not be a bad shout here either. I dislike not having much OBSEC. I think maybe like a year ago when I wasn't so experienced, I didn't think OBSEC was as important as I do now, but I mean, I think OBSEC is like I think battalions are just much stronger because of the OBSEC threat. Even if you have Rites of War, which I think is brilliant. But the amount of times that like one OBSEC model will hold an objective in a game over multiple non-OBSEC models makes me think that if you only have one squad of OBSEC guys, here you're making the game much more or you're making the primary part of the game much more difficult for yourself. Camo says one of your Eliminator Sergeants could take the Bolter so they could benefit from the move, shoot, move, and that's certainly useful for near the end of the game, and also just generally moving around and scoring secondaries and stuff like that. You used to have Null Zone on the Librarian, then I mean, if you want to run these powers, quickening and wings, I think you're much better just finding the 25 points and playing for Mephiston, which, I mean, you can find 25 points on this list. We kind of just did it. If you want to run the Librarian with the jump pack, I think you're right. I think it's Null Zone and Veil of Time, probably, or Null Zone and Might of Heroes, because Might of Heroes can really benefit like your Captain or Dante, give them an extra toughness and give them, I think it's an extra strength and an extra attack. That would basically put your Hammer of Baal on strength 9, which means you would wound toughness 8 on 2s and the extra attack. Or Relic Terminators worth the points. I think Relic Terminators are good for the points cost, yeah. You obviously can't teleport home with them, and they're slow, but overall I think they're not bad. Might of Heroes works well on characters and or core dreadnoughts, but we don't see too many of those these days. So yeah, if you're just back, then I think the other thing to say is like, yeah, I think you want something else OBSEC in here. Why is this Vanguard attachment? Why could this not be a battalion? Oh, it's just you don't have enough troop choices. I see. Okay. Because I was going to say you haven't gone on too many elite slots. Oh. Yeah, I've been running one squad of Death Company with like 4 hammers, and the other squad with Power Fist and Infernal Pistols. This +1. The +1 strength is not on the base, so it's ×2 +1 as opposed to. Yeah, so if you use Might of Heroes, the strength, you always do the multiplication first. So the hammer goes up to strength 8, and then you get +1, which makes you strength 9. I'll run this list on Wednesday with Tyranids and Tau and know how it goes. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, the thing to be aware of is like, I think you're going to feel like you wanted another OBSEC unit. I think you're going to feel like these. Here's the way that Sangre Guard work, right? You have a 6 or a 7, in my case 6s. You give them Chapter Master rerolls from Dante, or you keep them near your Captain or your Warlord. I guess in this case Dante is your Warlord. And they either make their charge and delete the unit they're fighting, or they get targeted down and killed out of combat. There's almost no in between. They're not a survivable unit. If the enemy put pressure on them, they will die, and they can. Tyranids will be able to kill an entire squad of Sangre Guard in a turn. Make no difference if you have 6 or 8 models. Tau will be able to do that as well. The only other thing I'd say is like, you got no protection against mortals in this list, and Tyranids can do a shitload of mortals. So when you play the Tyranids, think about Soul Warden, because Soul Warden is a 5-up shrug against mortals within 6 inches of a character. And honestly, I think against Tyranids after the game, they're going to have done 30 mortal wounds against you, and you would have thought a 5-up against all the mortals could have actually made a big difference. It made a big difference for me against Eldar this Monday night. So as much as I want to complain that Astrath doesn't do a ton of damage, Astrath this week saved me a ton of mortal wounds because I made him my Warlord and he had Soul Warden up, and it helped a lot. Put Soul Warden on the Captain. Well, the problem is the Captain was Rights of War. I mean, you could put Soul Warden on the Librarian, maybe. But you're kind of limited on CP as well because you've got that Vanguard attachment, meaning I guess you do have 1 CP to put Soul Warden on. And the Giants one as well, yeah, there was no danger of that, was there? I'm not wearing my Giants t-shirt this week, JT Money. And Arsenal won, and Dundee United won, so all my teams won this weekend. It was a great weekend. Any word on Andrew Squats for the game? I spoke to Andrew about his squats like on Friday and said to him, come on the channel with them as soon as you're ready with them. I don't think he's going to be ready this week, but he was 3D printing one of those land fortresses. So, alright, yeah. So the criticism is, I think you're going to want Soul Warden. I think the Sangre Guard are slightly too big. think the Death Company, one squad could probably change up its weapon options a little bit. And yeah, I like the idea of one squad of Eliminators having the move, shoot, move. And I think Soul Warden and or OBSEC are going to be your problems. But play the game, give it a try, think about the things I said, and then come back and leave me a comment on what we like. Mike says, split OBSEC and defenses. Priest gives right, Captain Rastroth gives Soul Warden, spread out protection. Yeah, that's why someone said last week, or maybe it was the week before, they were like, why don't you give Soul Warden to the Priest? Well, I think the reason you don't give Soul Warden to the Priest is because then you've got 2 bubbles of Feel No Pain that you can have on either side of the battlefield, and you never know where those mortal wounds are going to come in. So if you've got those 2 bubbles, and that's kind of how I'm thinking I'm going to keep playing. I'm running my Priest with its Feel No Pain, and then I'm definitely having Soul Warden on somebody. Can you find any use for a Predator tank? No. You're just going to have to wait on the Predator tank to get a buff. We've been waiting a while. Ball Predators, regular Predator tanks, they're not in a great state right now. I've got like 4 Predator tanks, and I don't think I've ever put them on the battlefield in 9th edition. I mean, park it on the backfield with las cannons, says Henry. I mean, that's your only option. And then the problem with las cannons is they're not reliable. D6 damage is just terrible, right? Eric, hey Commander. I really enjoy the videos you do. Would you mind taking a look at my list and giving you some thoughts? Going to a tournament on the 15th and 16th. Alright, so I just got this in time. And made this list after seeing your interview with Chris the other day. Alright, cool. Okay, so Battalion Detachment 2CP, 2,000 points on the nose. Company Veterans, Chainsword and Bolt Guns on both of them. Interesting, you can put double Chainsword on these guys. Would I ever run a tank list? Not right now. I might run Dreadnoughts, but tanks, I mean, tanks might work better for another chapter. They're just not good at all for Blood Angels. If I was going to run a tank, I'd run a super heavy tank, which I have done recently. Yeah. Alright, so we've got a Captain on the Bike with Soul Warden. And one of the things that I love about Soul Warden and the Captain on the Bike is the Captain on the Bike has a bigger base than all your other captains, like Dante, etc. So Soul Warden on him gives you like the biggest bubble of protection you can get against mortals. Another reason to love the Bike Captain. He's also put Visage of Death on here, so this captain is going to remove OBSEC. It's going to be -1 to hit. He's got a Thunder Hammer and an Infernal Pistol. Cool. We got Dante as the Warlord. We got the Sanguinary Priest with Rites of War and Armor Indomitus. Okay, so we get 2 ways to mess with OBSEC. We've got Chapter Master rerolls, we've got Assault Doctrine, and then we've also got the 2 bubbles of protection I was just talking about against mortals. Cool. Infiltrators times 2 and Assault Intercessor squads. I assume with double Infiltrators, he's got no other backfield holding objective stuff. Yes. So he's going to hold the backfield with the 2 Infiltrator squads. 2 Infiltrator squads alone can pretty much block out the entire your side of the board. So there'll be no deep strikes, there'll be no charges. Makes your backfield kind of secure against any shenanigans. Death Company with 5 hammers, cool. Death Company with all chainswords. I actually like the Death Company with all chainswords. They're a really cheap squad now, 105 points. If they're an Assault Doctrine, that's 30 chainsword attacks, which is not an insignificant amount. Like, there's a lot of attacks for a 105 point model squad, and they obviously move pretty good. He's also running Wrath of Baal, so that means that all the jump units are moving 14 inches. And he's got the Ancient there, so he can make them +1 to hit. I like both of those. 7-man Sanguinary Guards times 3. 2 full with swords and 1 full with axes. I'd straight away mix these. So I'd do like 5 swords, 2 axes in every squad. I think that's better. I think it's more flexible. I do like the idea of having 2 Infernal Pistols in one squad. If you're going to put Infernal Pistols in a squad, or you only have enough points for a few Infernal Pistols, I always think it's better to put it into one squad. Reason being is that's the squad you can get near your commander or with Chapter Master rerolls, so you're like hedging your bets on the Infernal Pistols, right? We then have 2 assault squads, an Infernal Pistol and a Power Sword and a couple of Plasmas. in both, and I guess these will be potentially action monkeys and or I mean, because we've got Rites of War and Visage of Death all over the place, that we can basically be contesting. I like this sort of list. I think it's a strong list. However, I have a problem with this list in that it relies 100% on melee and you making the charges and you fighting first, right? So like you're going to be making a lot of charges. You've got no way to stop the opponent counter offensive or counter interrupting, whatever it's called. I think it's called counter offensive, but a lot of people call it interrupting. You've got no way to stop that in this list. So if you charge with 2 units to Sanguinary Guard, chances are if the enemy has CP, they're going to interrupt. They're going to kill a bunch of your Sanguinary Guard in the second squad. So I don't like that. I also think it has no counter against anyone that has fight on death. So if the enemy has like fight on death models, you're going to have to trade a unit into the fight on death models like Repentia or like Woven or anything else like that, and you're going to die because they fight on death. Maybe you can get around it with a tactical Angel Sacrifice or something, but I think it's a very high level / difficult play to do. And then there's something else I didn't like. I mean, the Eldar list that I played that had all that fight last was going to be super difficult for this list as well, especially with the fact you've got no denies and no psychic either. And then you're very terrain dependent, right? Like, because all your units are jump units, you have very little. I mean, you've got some bolt or fire, but let's not kid ourselves. Bolters from Sanguinary Guard into most enemies, even to like fucking orcs now with their toughness 5, bolters from Sanguinary Guard do very little. So against the right opponents, that you just run right over the top of them. You'll kill them very easily with a list like this. I don't love playing lists like this. I tried it and got to the top. I got to the final of an RTT with it, and I lost because some of the things I said, like, psychic power is making me fight last, units that fight on death. Is it possible to obscure a flyer behind terrain? Probably not. I mean, if it's a piece of obscuring terrain and it's over 5 inches high, then yes. And the flyer's got less than 18 wounds, then yes, it's possible. But it's not that easy. Henry's thinking of a super heavy. Which would you recommend as the big gun type tank? Jaeger Bomb. Thank you so much for becoming a member. You have been a member for a long time, actually, Jaeger Bomb. It was a good day today, thank you. All my sports teams won today, but my kids just wanted to cry the whole day, so that was fun. But it's good. Yeah, I mean, it's a strong jump unit list. You can't get any stronger. I just think, like, missing the ability. And that's why, if I was going to run a list like this, and Steven just did it at the LGT, you want to put the Whirlwind into the list, because the Whirlwind's going to give you a ton of value in this list, right? Because if you make 2 charges of Sanguinary Guard, you fight with one, and you suppress the other so they can't counter-offensive, so you fight first with both units. And I think that's the unit that's going to give this list the most oomph. Because you're going to be making multiple charges. Like, if you're not making multiple charges with 7 jump units, then you're doing something wrong. But at the same time, you don't want to be getting counter-offensive and killed, and you don't want to have to limit your charges because of that. So, like, these are strong units to have. I just don't know if you can win an event right now with this. Because there's certain armies that are just going to be very, very difficult to deal with. I do like the fact that you've got Soul Warning. I do like the fact that you've got Rites of War. I mean, that stuff is good. Yeah, but I made a video probably like 3 or 4 months ago called Masterclass. And if you search Masterclass on my YouTube channel, or search Blood Angel Commander Masterclass, you'll see a 2-part video where I talk about playing a list much like this at a tournament. And ultimately I didn't win the tournament because there was who I fought last had multiple ways of making me fight last, and also had fight on death units. And the terrain was bad, so he actually had like loads of shooting as well. So it was like 3 things. Three counters to this list. and I had to play against all of them. And it kind of put me off throwing all my eggs in one basket like this. You can do it, but I don't like to do it. If you're going to take a big tank right now, which would you suggest? Well, I'd probably suggest the Astraeus. The Astraeus costs no CP to take, right? Because it is a Primaris tank, and as such, it costs no CP. They lowered the points cost on it. So it's now 550, but you want to probably put that double las cannon on it in the stubber, so it's 585. It's got the void shields, so it's like arguably the most survivable super heavy because it's 30 wounds, and the first 6 wounds that come in from ranged, you have a way of like ignoring them essentially. And it doesn't cost any CP, and it's also got a repulsor field, which means you can. When anyone
Jaegerbomb2 donated $5 via Super Chat. Been building a Horus Heresy army. With limited stuff, I've kit bashing to make Jump Assault and Vanguard veterans. Thinking about dabbling in the 30k.
You know what, I really want to buy the 30k box, Jägermeister, or Jaegerbomb. Thanks so much for the $5. I do want to buy it. I want to buy the Terminators as well, because they're kind of cheap, right? Like 10 30k Terminators are like, they're way cheaper compared to like what you would pay for 40k Terminators. Like you pay an extra $5 and you get 5 more Terminators. But I have a lot of stuff on my backlog right now. Let me show you this. Hold on. Can I show you? Yeah, I think I can. I've been doing I had a guy that was doing a commission from, and he for whatever reason he wasn't able to finish the commission, so I just got this box of stuff the other day, right? Which is like, this was 10 Tempest Scions, which I'm going to convert into Voidsman. This is the Vindicator Laser Destroyer. I guess that is a 30k model, but here's a Siege Drill that's magnetized, and then here's an Ironclad Dreadnought. So I already had like, I don't know, I already had £500 worth of stuff on my pile of shame, and I've just added this. And with the 2 kids, man, I'm not painting nearly as much as I would like to. But one of my kids is 10 months old, so you got to watch him all the time. We've caught him twice this week with like toys entirely in his mouth, which is like super dangerous. So, but yeah, I do want to buy that 30k starter box. But in terms of other 30k stuff, like I already got Leviathan Dreadnoughts fully painted and magnetized. I already got Contemptor Dreadnoughts fully painted and magnetized. I already got like quite a lot of rank and file troops, and what I mean by that is like Firstborn, Tactical Marines, etc. So like I already probably could start 30k pretty quickly, but I mean it's just not on my cards right now. So yeah, if I was gonna buy a super heavy, I think I like the Astraeus most right now. I think I would make it with the Plasma Eradicators. The Fellblade is not bad. Again, it went down in points, but it's a lot less survivable, 4 less wounds. But it's much better in melee, and that's the interesting thing with the Astraeus has nothing in melee, right? Whereas like the Fellblade and the Falchion and the Cerberus all have crushing tracks, which for Blood Angels is not insignificant, because when you charge, you're going to get 8 attacks. Yeah, you're only weapon skill 5, but if you do hit, then your attacks are at strength 8, so arguably that's going to wound most things on 2s, right? With the +1 to wound. If you're an Assault Doctrine, you're not really going to be fighting them before turn 3, because the tank's going to take a few turns to get across the board. So you're going to be at -3, 8 attacks, D3 damage. So the Cerberus, the Fellblade, and then even the Spartan, the new Spartan from the Horus Heresy box we're just talking about with Jaeger. And the cool thing about the Spartan is it takes 25 Blood Angels infantry. Jump pack models take up 2. Centurions take up 3. So I'm actually surprised, given that everybody's been running those 5 Centurions, why we haven't seen a Spartan. Maybe it's just too many points. But 20 wound Spartan tank that can move 10 inches, move it forward 10 inches turn 1, disembark 5 Centurions turn 2. We haven't seen that yet. Maybe we'll see it. If I was going to put 5 Centurions in there, I'd probably also put in like 5 Scouts as well. So if it blows up, if I have a horrific roll of like 1s, then obviously the Scouts die and the Centurions are absolutely fine. So, yeah, I'd put some super cheap. I think Scouts are. Do you know what? Servitors. We could put Servitors inside it, right? What about a squad of 5 Centurions plus 4 Servitors or something inside the Spartan? Jaeger, you're gonna make. Yeah, well, so I've got that. I was thinking of running the Terax. That's why I bought one. But yeah, I will dabble in 30k at some point. Just a lot going on at the moment. Mike says do it. He's dealing with my backlog. Yeah, I just commissioned Mike from the chat. If you were on the stream last night, Mike was painting a gladiator tank for me. But the problem is, Mike, I have to pay you, right? So like, it's not as simple as just here, take all these things and paint them for me, right? Okay. KWSX. Don't know how you say your name. Hello, thank you for submitting the list. Let's talk about your army list. John is a Spartan and a Kratos, and I love them. And do you know what? I haven't even looked at the Kratos tank. I was at RTT where a Blood Angels player was playing a Kratos tank as well. It's hard to keep up. Like, before I had kids, I could paint like 15, 20 hours a week. Now I'm lucky if I do 5. So it's hard for me to keep up. But yeah, I mean, at some point, probably next year, I want to do a new video of like all the Blood Angel stuff that I have that's complete, because the last time I did that was like 2.5 years ago, right when the channel was brand new, and I've done a lot of shit since then, and I already had a big list or a big army then. What about a knight instead of a tank? I would take the tank because of the CP cost the knights have right now. I'm not a huge fan of blowing 3 CP for a knight, and then obviously the knight doesn't get any faction bonuses or anything like that. I mean, I ran the Astraeus at a GT. I've also ran the Falchion a few times, not at a tournament, and like, you can kind of make those lists work, but I don't think you can win a tournament with an Astraeus or a super heavy tank. I mean, just if you've not watched the video, Henry, about me taking a super heavy to a tournament yet, go watch it. I think if you search Blood Angels Commander Super Heavy on YouTube, you'll probably find it. Alright, Primaris HQ. This is like a 1,000-point list. Alright, so this is just the 1,000-point list. We got the Chaplain on the bike, who's got Gift of Foresight, Mantra of Strength, Canticle of Hate, Adamantium Mantle, and Armor Indomitus. Alright, so this is this crazy tanky Chaplain on a bike. You got the Sanguinary Priest, who is the Selfless Healer. I'm not sure you need Selfless Healer in a 1,000-point game. I don't even run it in 2,000-point game that much. And the Teeth of Terra. So that's going to blow up half. That's going to blow up all your command points, basically. I think this list maybe is. If this is Nephilim, then you've got no command points left. You've got 1 squad of Assault Intercessors. You've got a Terminator squad with all Lightning Claws, you've got the Whirlwind, and you've got like a 9-man squad of Sanguinary Guard. Okay, wow. This is 9, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, I mean, I guess 9-man Sanguinary Guard running next to the Sanguinary Priest. I'm going to be worried about their morale, though. I think you might, yeah. I made a 1,000-point list, I think. I made a video on a 1,000-point list, right?
Jaegerbomb2 donated $5 via Super Chat. Having a family is a wonderful thing. No need to beat yourself up over lack of time. I'm optimistic about new Dante model. Hope more comes with him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic about... is it just new Dante, or is it... like Primaris upgrades, like the Black Templar box. I actually just started reading the Astaroth novel this week. You know the Astaroth novel that's like set after Darkness in the Blood. So I'm curious to know where this goes, but I just started it this week. I'm like chapter 2, so I'm getting into it. But yeah, I am hopeful that Blood Angels are going to get something soonish. So this was my 1,000 point list, and on 1,000 points, I would definitely feel like I would go smaller on your squads. I don't think you need 9 Sanguinary Guard. You could probably go 6. How many did I go? I went for a 7. Yeah, so a 6 or a 7. Maybe with the fact you've got that giant squad of Terminators as well makes me think you want a 7. So take 90 points or something and run a land speeder or run a squad of Eliminators with las fusils. Yes, our elites are brilliant, and yes, they're going to kill a lot of stuff, and I guess the priest is going to help keep them alive, and the chaplain's going to be in there. But I think you just want a little bit of balance in the list. I'd much rather incursors over assault intercessors, just because the guerrilla tactics gives them like a lot more ability to move around the map, I guess. Jaeger, thanks so much for the $5 again. That would be awesome. That is awesome. Read the Astaroth novel. Yeah, I mean, I've just started it. Like I said, a couple of chapters in. So I might do a review on it when I get through. I'm not 100% sure. I guess people wanted a review of the book. But then we'd be opening up to spoilers. Maybe it's something we can do on the Three Grots channel when I've finished reading it, assuming that Mark and Tony and I have finished reading it as well. Yeah, I think for 1,000 points, I'd probably try and like spread some stuff around, and I might try, like I put Rites of War on the Sanguinary Priest. I think I might prefer Rites of War over the Selfless Healer, because OBSEC is really important. There's no two ways about it. Making a big squad of Sanguinary Guard or a big squad of Terminators OBSEC is going to be huge. I think I'm going to get more value out of that than getting a free revive. And if I really need to revive a model, then just pay 1 CP for it, right? That's kind of how I would do it. So that's my opinion on the 1,000 point list. Cool. Life RPG was in the chat, and we have his list up next. All right. Chris says, I've just picked up playing 40k last month and ending picking up Space Wolves. I love how Blood Angels and Space Wolves seem to like to. I think you meant to write to do the same stuff. Yeah, there's similarities, Chris, between the two lists or the two armies. That's for sure. I actually am guilty of haven't read the Space Wolf Codex, but I have played against them a few times. Wolven are very strong, I feel like. Vanguard veterans are also pretty commonplace in Space Wolves lists. And then there's a library, like, Space Wolves are really good at melee combat as well. And they have a couple of powers, and they also have a relic called Armor of Rust that lets them, like, make the enemies fight last. So, like, the fight last is really strong. And I also think that the cavalry are really, really good as well. Anyone that's in chat that wants to help Chris with some Space Wolves stuff, go for it. I wonder if you want me to get, because I'm thinking about this. I played a guy at there's a tournament that was at. The tournament was this one where I finished third, right? Third place. The guy who beat me at the top table to win the event, he was a Space Wolf player, and I got on with him pretty well. I'd never met him before, but we had a really good close game. So I added him on like Facebook. So if you want me to try and get his list, I mean it's a 2,000 point list, so you'd have to adapt it for yourself. But I can probably get you his list, or some variant of it. you know, join our Discord or hit us up in the Facebook group and we can maybe sort you out. All right, Life RPG. Hey, just popping in my list for review. Ran this at a recent team event against very meta armies: Drukhari, Chaos Knights, Iron Warriors / with Abaddon. Craftable Gardener, Tyranids, Helix Gauntlets, and Deep Strike Denial came in clutch over and over. The turn 1 punch from Jump Pack Death Company drop pod. I guess a Death Company drop pod. Invictor? I guess it's that war suit. I have never bought one of those war suits. And utilising the formant deployment eliminators with Crate Bolts for the +1 to hit was juicy. Notably, the Nids managed to drop the Winged Hive Tyrant of Death. I hate that Hive Tyrant. He basically does 5 mortal wounds every round of combat, which I think is dumb. 5 points from Death from Above, 15 for Blade of Sanguinius, 4 for Relentless Assault. Turn 1, wow, okay. Also, special mention for Massive Doom and Tycho the Lost. Okay. No one is picking Tycho the Lost, but cool. I put Massive Doom on either of the Jump Pack Death Company first turn or later in the game. On the Sanguinary Guard, 4+ in Fun and possible +1 to hit without the need of the Warlord near. Tycho the Lost, 95 points, Combi Melta, Mastercrafted Bolter, Death Company Captain with a 2-up, 4-up, 6-up, Access Death Vision, and a beefed-up Chain Sword. These are majorly overlooked. Tycho the Lost is majorly overlooked. What are you smoking, Life RPG, and how can I get some of it? Tycho the Lost is majorly overlooked. He's got a Meltagun. He's got 5 wounds and a 2-up. And he's basically got a Lightning Claw without the rerolls. Or I guess, as you say, a Chain Sword. Death Company core with a 9 reroll 1s. And he can access Death Visions. And I guess he could take Selfless Valor if you wanted to give him 6-inch heroics. I mean, I guess at 95 points, you're probably right. He's not bad for 95 points. What do they charge you for a normal captain? 85? So you're paying 10 more points to get essentially a Meltagun and sort of a Lightning Claw and the rerolls for a bigger aura for Death Company. It doesn't seem majorly brilliant. You know, I guess the Death Vision makes it a little bit better. I suppose his Meltagun and his Rapid Fire Bolt are hitting on 3s. Okay, I mean, I don't know if I feel like it's majorly overlooked, but I'll agree with you on this one. For 95 points, I guess he's not bad. Good evening, Bruin Biscuits. Alright. Drop pod, Tycho the Lost, reroll 1s, and Angel Sacrifice target. Death Vision of 3-up in Fun. Firing both profiles. Company Chaplain with reroll charges. And a 6-inch heroic intervention. 8 Death Company. What's on the Death Company here? Just, I guess we'll find out. Reserves 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard. Librarian with Null Zone and Veil of Time. Reroll via Icon of the Angel for Sanguinary Guard near him. 2 Infiltrator squads, Eliminators. Pre-game move 5 Death Company. Deploy forward as required. Blade of Sanguinius. Relentless Assault. Death from above. Okay. Interesting. Alright. Starting on 1 CP. We got Astaroth, who has got the Soul Warden. And he is the Warlord. Mantra and Canticle. We got Librarian with Veil of Time. Might of Heroes Null Zone. Chief Librarian. Icon of the Angel. Infernal Pistol. Psychic Mastery. Expensive Librarian, I guess. And then Tycho of the Lost. Infiltrators. Surely you don't need 3 squads of these guys, all with Helix Gauntlets. I mean, I guess you're making half the map. There's no deep strike in it. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I feel like I 1 squad of these guys with Helix Gauntlets, but I guess Helix Gauntlets, do they protect in any way against mortals, or they just prevent the first failed save? I think it's just the first failed save, right? The first time a saving throw is made, the damage characteristic is changed to 0, 10 points. First time per turn. Okay, I mean, I used to run 2 squads of infiltrators and felt like that was a huge amount of denial, so I can't imagine feeling like you need 3, but I mean, if this was me, I would run 1 squad of infiltrators, 2 squads of incursors, and I'd be halfway towards a whirlwind already. The whirlwind's obviously good for denying deep strike as well, just because it's a giant tank that's going to sit in your backfield, right? You got the champion in here who has Martial Exemplar. Martial Exemplar is reroll charges as well. So there's a bunch of reroll charges here. You've got a big Death Company with 3 Thunder Hammers and a bunch of Power Swords. Smaller Death Company with 3 Hammers and 2 Power Swords. I'd probably just change that smaller Death Company to have like 2 Infernal Pistols. Just in case you come up against some transports, then you're going to have a problem opening them up, maybe, potentially, my opinion. You got the Tactical Warsuit with the Incendium Cannon. It's funny that you think there's value in this, because like nobody plays this. When you compare it to Redemptor Dreadnoughts, which get played all the time, I mean, this has like toughness 6 and no -1 damage, and as such, I guess, like I said, just nobody plays it. 13 wounds, toughness 6. The Incendium Cannon is basically like a double heavy flamer. It also has a heavy bolter, couple of stubbers, and then I guess it's fist. But it doesn't have that many attacks. That's kind of what puts me off of it. 4 attacks, I guess 5 if you charge. You get 2 8 Sanguary Guard, and 3 Infernals and 3 Power Fists in each. And again, no one's playing Power Fists on Sandguard. And I personally feel like it's a bit wasted points. If you don't like axes, then go all swords. But I mean, yeah, I mean, the way I'd see this already is like 2 of these infiltrator squads become incursors. All these power fists get dropped for more swords. I literally almost have enough points for Whirlwind now, without dropping anything else in the list. You got the drop pod, you got the eliminators with the Las Fusils and the Quake Bolts. And that's kind of it. Okay. Manage to screen the entire table turn 2 and wipe the opponent off the table turn 1. See, I don't love jumping everything into combat in turn 1, because I feel like a lot of our units get a lot of extra strength when we get to Assault Doctrine, right? Like Sanguary Guard, if you're fighting Marines, you go from saving on 5s to saving on 6s when you get to the Assault Doctrine, and everyone gets +1 attack. Okay, this is an interesting list. How are you winning games with this consistently? I guess the infiltrators are going to help against GSC and demons. Yes, that is correct, Christian. However often that comes up, I guess. Two Sanguary Guard, 2 Death Company are kind of core in a lot of lists, I guess. The Eliminators arguably core in some things, and then it's a battalion, so that's not bad. I mean, I like the fact that you've got the Soul Warden in there. That's definitely going to be useful. The reliable Librarian with Null Zone, I guess, is going to be useful. No one builds against so much Null Deploy in 9th. I mean, if I came up against you and saw 3 squads of infiltrators, I just wouldn't put anything in reserve, I think. Do people still put a lot of stuff? Because, well, I mean, I've got experience playing with infiltrators, and I know that like 2 squads of them plus 1 more unit, you can pretty much screen the entire board on your side of the table. That's why I don't think you need 3 squads of them. But, okay. What would I change? It's a lot of non-meta picks you've got here. The Warsuit is definitely a non-meta pick. The Drop Pod is something we very rarely see. Tycho the Lost is crazy non-meta, and 3, when everybody's thinking cursors are stronger because of the extra AP that they get, and arguably incursors are the most damaging troop choice we have, you're picking the ones that have arguably the least damage because there's like no AP on their guns and no AP on their melee. It's a crazy list. It sounds like you're scoring well from it, though. A lot of reroll charges, and I guess using that to your advantage. I don't see what this list can do to push Necrons. It's very true. I also think this list might have some problems into Sisters. Its Sisters are super strong right now. Because Sisters are really fast and they'll start everything on the board as well, and infiltrators will get eaten alive by Seraphim or Repentia. Even with Helix Gauntlets, you'll still lose the whole squad in a single turn. I mean, they'll wipe 8 Sangre Guard in a single turn, a squad of Repentia or something like that. I don't know how much use I can be on this life because this is just it's just not what we normally see. I mean, I do like Tycho and a Chapter Champion and a Death Company and a Drop Pod. I think if you're doing Relentless Assault, that's pretty cool. Sisters won't need to reserve anything, though, against you, right? Because their units are super fast. And Repentia can, like, move 8 maybe, advance 6, and then charge on 3d6, and they can use Miracle Dice. I find that if troops are in close combat, then I've done something wrong. I don't mind losing infiltrators if it means the Repentia are out in the open and he wasted the charge on them. That's all good. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like. I go to a decent number of tournaments, and typically putting 1 or 2 units in reserve that I do is more than everybody I play against. I'd say 90% of people I play at tournaments have nothing in reserve. So if I mean maybe it's just the meta here. People think reserves are not reliable, so they don't use them. Okay. I do think you'd probably be able to lose the Power Fists, add some Infernal Pistols to the Death Company, lose some of the Infiltrators. If you're going for tons of turn 1 charges, then again, or early game charges, a Whirlwind's going to do value. Just because you're going to be able to stop the opponent counter offensiving you, which I think for 1 CP is always worth doing. I mean, if you're making 2 charges with like a Forlorn Fury Death Company and another Death Company in turn 1, if you're doing that against me, I'm 100% interrupting, right? So the Whirlwind just basically makes it that the opponent can't interrupt, and sometimes that alone can be huge, can win you games, right? I'd like to see like a tournament result with Tycho the Lost though, because we'd never see Tycho the Lost in any competitive tournament lists. Have I missed Trump's Lost? What's Trump's Lost? JT Money. The Dopcoming Death Company can't be shot off the board turn 1 if he doesn't get first turn. I like the Podding Death Company. Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike the idea of a drop podding Death Company with reroll charges and other stuff in there. I don't dislike it at all. It's just not something that we see, I guess. Do you think you'll try the boarding actions game mode? Apparently, it's focused on combat patrol size army. Boarding actions is what, some sort of new kill team or some? a new 500 point mission. I actually don't know what that is, Jacob. Yeah, definitely send me the results, Life RPG, and if that is your list, then send me any BCP or send me what you ended up having problems with. Because yeah, I'm. It's nice to see someone that's actually thinking outside the box. Because like way too many of our lists are all like carbon copies, which is fine, right? Like, um, if that's what people deem that are strong for Blood Angels, I like these lists that sort of switch it up a bit. And hey, thank you so much for becoming a member, Chris. I really appreciate it. You can access like our Discord and get you link your YouTube to your Discord account, and then you get into our members only room. So please find the link in the video description and join up. Yeah, it's nice to see someone thinking outside the box, because like I obviously don't run the standard like Centurion list or just all jump units list. I mean, I did try it, but I like to experiment. I like to come up with things that I think are strong. It's a 500 point 40k on the Space Hulk terrain. I mean, that sounds cool, Jacob. I used to love old Space Hulk. I actually have, like, I haven't done a video or anything on it yet because I don't know what I'm doing with it. But I have this Space Hulk, right? Like, the original box. I don't actually know if that's the original box. Hold on. Space. Oh no, it's not. That's Space. You're talking Space Hulk. I'm talking Space Crusade, which is pre-Space Hulk. I have this in its cellophane. But I don't know what I'm doing with it. Like, I think it was released. Like, look how bad these pictures are. I think this was released in back when the books were in black and white. I think it was released in like the early 90s. But yeah, I've got it in its I've got it in its cellophane. And I had the video game too as well, actually. Yeah, the video game was on like an Atari or an Amiga 500. I actually just saw like Amiga 500. I didn't even know this was a thing, but they're doing like an Amiga 500 Mini now. Did you guys know about this? It's like, yeah, that's it. It's like this was the first computer I ever had, like an Amiga 500. Well, I had an Atari ST, but it's basically the same thing. And I had basically all these games as well. And this was like super early. And the best game on this list is Speedball 2. If you've never played Speedball 2, it's fucking brilliant. But yeah, I know I had these old games. So a new 500 point on a Space Hulk with something, maybe a bit like Tempest of War. Sounds pretty cool, actually. I think after this next, so I have this GT in like, I have a GT in like 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a GT in 5 weeks' time, and then I have a team tournament in January. So maybe after the team tournament, I won't be doing any more events for a little while. So I'll maybe go and look at some of these, like maybe I'll finally get a game of Tempest of War. Maybe we'll do some Crusade on the channel. Maybe we'll do, I don't know, something. We'll maybe do some non super competitive content for a little while, because I imagine it's only a matter of time before 10th edition comes, and then we're back into super competitive content again. Good evening, Highland Phoenix. How are you doing? The white armored Blood Angels captain. Yeah, I mean, the super old Space Crusade, John Crusade. I don't know what to do with that Space Crusade box though. Like, I'm really tempted to open it out the cellophane, but obviously the second I cut the cellophane, it drops like a ton of value. The balance data sheet is supposed to be. They put out a video like 2 or 3 days ago, saying it would be in about 2 weeks' time. So it's probably about 10 days to balance data slate. What's my tournament list thoughts? well, I mean, the tournament list is the one that I'm playing on the last Wednesday at the moment, but I'm probably going to drop Astaroth and run Mephisto on it if it's a tournament because I don't love Astaroth. You guys know I don't love him. I love Mephisto though, right? I don't know if I'll have my gladiators in time by that. I don't know. Part of me wants to run the Terrax Siege Drill over the Storm Speeder and maybe like a squad of scouts inside it. I think I was doing the math. I can drop like the Eliminators, the Storm Speeder, and the Servitors for like a Terrax Siege Drill plus a squad of scouts. Thought that might be cool. But it would mean painting the Siege Drill inside a month or something, which I'm in the middle of these Power Sword Infernal Pistol Death Company guys, so I probably kind of want to just finish those. So maybe my tournament list is just what you've been seeing on stream. Your own flowchart shows that leaving the librarian is a liability. More victory points leaving them at home. I mean, the librarian isn't a liability in terms of like if the opponent's Eldar and they're gonna hit you with an oppressive amount of psychic powers and like psychic powers that are gonna do 6 mortal wounds in a turn. If you could deny 1 or 2 of those, that's kind of huge, right? All right, Matthews, loved the stream. Really happy you'll be covering the list. Actually, I've massively adapted it in time for the information I got from the stream. So here's my reviewed list. All right, so it's 1,200 points on a 1K board with Nephilim. So it's a brutal format. All right, so it's kind of, and it's Flesh Tearers. Hey, we haven't seen this for a little while. Okay, so I was going to say it's Flesh Tearers without Seth. I mean, that's an insult to Seth. I'm not sure how I feel about that. So, starting on 1 CP, Death Company Captain, Hammer of Baal, Infernal Pistol, Imperium Sword, and a jump pack. Okay. So, how many attacks does this guy get? He gets the 4 base, then +1 from Imperium Sword, then +1 from charging, and +1 from Black Rage. So he's on 7 attacks in turn 1. Okay. And then obviously Imperium Sword gives you reroll charges. Right? Oh, it's been a little while since I ran Imperium Sword. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Does it give +1 strength as well, or am I making that up? And I think it gives +1 attack and reroll charges. And +1 strength. Alright, yeah, +1 strength as well. Alright, so it's strength 9 Thunderhammer. So it'll be hitting on 3s, but you can call Death Visions, and then wounding on 2s most likely because it's strength 9. Librarian with Quickening, Unleash Rage Wings, and use the Chief Librarian. I feel like if you're going to make him the Chief Librarian, you probably want to spend the CP and give him Psychic Mastery just to make his powers more reliable. I mean, you don't have to, right? If you're facing Eldar, 1 Marine does nothing. I mean, it does if they start Psychic Interrogating you, right, Reziel? And I played Tyranids that had like 4 Zonothropes and a Neurothrope and a Malceptor. And honestly, having Denies in that game probably won me the game because Tyranids are obnoxiously good, in my opinion. You got Death Company with the Chainswords, you get Death Company with all hammers, and there's an argument here to say like maybe there should be 1 Infernal Pistol in the Hammer squad, but 4 hammers is also pretty good. You got the Sangre Ancient. I think the only reason to take the Ancient is to run Wrath of Baal. I mean, I guess you get the +1 to hit. Okay, 7-man Sangre guard all with swords. Terminators with all lightning claws, and then Lars Fusils all around double. Okay. I just finished my Lazarus. He gives a 6-inch bubble, 5+ ignore wounds from mortals. Oh, yeah, Lazarus. Stephen S says denied 2 psychic interrogation and upwards of 8 mortals versus the elves. I mean, that's how I see it. Yeah, it can 10 denies a game isn't I feel like if you have 2 denies a turn, you're going to deny 1. So on average throughout the game, you're denying 5 things. So you pick the spell that they do have that has 6 mortal wounds, and you pick Psychic Interrogate, and you deny them every single time they cast them. If you're ever within half range, it's slightly better odds as well because you're +1. So you deny, on average, you deny 2 interrogates and you deny like 2 6 mortal, 12 mortal wounds. So I mean, like, you can say that having 1 librarian is a liability, but I mean, if it can, I don't know. I mean, denies things get denied. Like, it is a thing that happens. Like, you can't say like it's just averages. 2 denies means you're going to deny 1 power a turn, pretty much, because one time the opponent will roll higher than you, and one time you'll roll higher than them, right? Like, and if they have a bad turn where they roll like, plus you don't shout the deny till you see their dice roll. So if they Psychic Interrogate on a 4, you're like, yeah, I'll deny it. If they Psychic Interrogate on a 12, then I'll be like, well, I'll just let's see what else you've got to cast, right? So there's a bit of like give and take on the denies, but it definitely happens. And also, the other thing that I love about Psychers, and I feel like I really miss it if I don't have one, is what happens when you get left with a single, like against Brett's army. Brett left like a single orc in combat with a unit of mine. And I'm like, fuck, that unit is stuck in combat with him. I'm not going to be able to make a charge elsewhere. I'm just stuck. I'm just stuck in combat. I mean, him fighting first is inconsequential. You'll kill one of my models. Where it's like a single orc with like 1 wound left on him is in combat with me. Well, I have smite now, right? So I'll just fly Mephiston over there. I'll smite the orc. That frees up that whole unit to make a charge and actually be useful. I don't like not having a Psyker for that, and I also don't like not have. Yeah, I mean, if that unit has Infernal Pistols, great, Jim, but it might not. It might be all Angelus Bolters, which is how I run some of my squads as well, right? So they're not even going to be able to shoot their bolters in combat because they're not pistols. And the other thing I hate not having a Psyker for is models with wound caps. So like Gazgul came in to attack me, and it's like I can only do 4 wounds per phase against him. So if for some reason, let's say Gazgul, by the time Gazgul got to my side of the board, maybe he was down on 8 wounds. So if I can't do 4 wounds to him in the shooting phase, I'm not going to be able to kill him. Gazgul gets stronger the lower health he has, right? As he profiles, he actually gets more attacks. Because I actually was like, is that right, Brett? He gets more attacks as he gets weaker? Yes, that's correct. He gets more attacks. So not being able to smite a multi-wounded model like that, again, I just don't like it. Okay, alright. You like Astaroth, I like Mephiston. I struggle to see you guys' point of view, I guess, on that. There's too many things I don't like about not having the Psyker. It's that simple. Okay, so this is the Vanguard list. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know why you take the Ancient without Wrath of Baal. I guess the +1 for Death Company Hammers is fine. 2 squads of Eliminators, I think, is decent. No OBSEC, though, here. So I actually think on this one, you only have 1 CP left. I think you need to take Rites of War. I think if you want to run this, then I would 100% be looking at Rites of War, because I think that having no OBSEC means if you fight something like Chaos Knights or Necron Eternal Conquerors or something like that, you're just going to get run over because you're not going to score any points. You may be killing them everywhere, but you're not going to score any points. Maybe you'll score secondaries, you just won't score primaries, right? So there's that. How does the Librarian compare to Mephiston? Well, he's Flesh Terrors, right? So you can't take Mephiston. How does this Librarian Dreadnought compare? I mean, for 40 points more, I wouldn't say it's brilliant. And my issue with Librarian Dreadnought is, like, he can whiff. And I mean, arguably Mephiston can whiff as well because he hits on 2s. But like when you hit on 3s, there's definitely a chance that you can whiff like a bunch of your attacks. Yes, this guy's got 3 damage, so that's a little bit more reliable. But then I guess Mephiston is a bit more, probably more survivable and much better at dealing with mortals as well. I don't hate the Librarian Dreadnought. I just think that like 180 points seems like an awful lot for a character. If he was like 160 or something, I might be much more on board. Or if he had weapon skill 2, I might be much more on board. Usually the person that scores the most points wins the game. I mean, I get that. What part have I missed? Wouldn't Chief with Neural Shroud be best then? What does Neural Shroud do again? Something that no one picks ever? Is that not just +1 to deny in a longer range or something? It gives your deny 24 inches? I mean, it's only +1 to deny, right? Here's the thing, right, Highland? On average, if we both roll 2 dice each turn, I roll 2, you roll 2, and we do that twice, you'll win 1 and I win 1. That's how it's going to work. If I have +1, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's going to make no difference. Same as if you have +1 to cast or something, it's going to make no difference, right? We're still going to, on average, probably what's going to happen is you do that enough times, you're going to win 5 of the rolls and I'm going to win 5 of the rolls, right? Which is the equivalent of me having 10 denies over the course of the game. So I just think that the strength in the deny, though, is that you pick when you deny, right? You wait till they roll a 4, and then you deny it. You don't try and deny an 11 unless they've only got 2 powers left to cast, and there's a bit of inner gameplay there, I guess, where they can maybe bait you by making other powers or making powers in other orders. But Two Scoops has been running Librarian Dreadnought with Gift of Foresight and a Meltagun for 155. Nice. As a smash captain, basically. Quickening and wings sort of deal. The thing I think, if I was going to run if I am running a sanguinary discipline librarian, I think Unleash Rage is the power that I feel like I get the most value out. You could put Unleash Rage on a squad of Incursors that are up the board with a forward deploy. You can put them on that Forlorn Fury Death Company. I feel like Unleash Rage is like the only ability that we have that can actually like add additional damage to a unit. Like if you have a unit that take a unit of Sangre Guard, for example, there's 2 ways you make Sangre Guard really reliable, right? One is you're near your Warlord. Arguably, your Warlord can also be like a captain or something, so you reroll 1s. So if you're near your Warlord with Sangre Guard, it's hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. The other is Chapter Master, so just hitting on 3s, rerolling everything. And those 2 things guarantee lots of hits. There's other ways you can make them good, with like Massive Doom or the Banner from the Ancient. But there's no other way to like burst additional hits beyond Unleash Rage. So when I look at Sanguinary Discipline, as much as I like Wings, as much as I like Quickening, Unleash Rage stands out to me. So if I had a librarian that did nothing all game, but cast Unleash Rage on a few key models and did some denying, that's probably enough, right? Like that I feel like that's probably enough to make me feel like, hey, that librarian was really useful. Yeah, of course, denies aren't reliable, but nothing is reliable. Like just last week I ran Astaroth and I had 2 litanies to cast on a 3-up and both of them failed. So like, I'd argue Astaroth is no more reliable or less reliable than Mephiston. The difference, I suppose, is yeah. I mean, it's a dice game in the end of things, right? I think the thing that this Flesh Tears list missing the most is Rights of War. I think I like most of it, apart from that. I think maybe if this was me, I would maybe scale down the amount of stuff he spent on the Death Company captain. Like, maybe just give him the Hammer of Baal, or maybe just give him the Imperium Sword. Like, don't give him both, and then either go like Psychic Mastery on the Dreadnought, which would be useful, or Rites of War, which I think is the more useful pick here on the Ancient. Because I don't like running no obsec now. I think there's too many armies out there that will punish you for running no obsec. I've tried double Librarian Dreadnought before with one quickening and wings, another Unleash Rage Wings, and Imperium Sword. And how did that feel like, Brew and Biscuits? That captain went to the store and bought everything. Yeah, and I don't think he needs to buy everything, because the way I see Death Company captains are, you're gonna blow the Death Vision the second he gets in combat, right? Because like he's not really a survivable captain. He's just a captain with a 6-up feel no pain. You know, like it doesn't make him really any more survivable than a captain. You know, he's just toughness 4 or 5 wounds at 145 points. Like that's even with a 6-up feel no pain, that's pretty killable. So I think you're gonna jump in. Probably the Hammer of Baal is the better of the two choices. Like if you have to pick one, the Hammer of the Baal is probably better because you're getting no -1 to hit, and you're getting the additional point of AP. So I think the Hammer of Baal is going to make slightly better than the Imperium Sword. So you're just going to jump in. You're going to blow the Death Vision to let you reroll ones, assuming you can see an enemy character. However, I forget the condition on the Death Vision because I don't do it very often. For 5 more points, you get the Primaris Chaplain on a bike, and he's way better. I mean, the difference here, I suppose, is the Primaris Chaplain on a bike is later in the game is going to be able to benefit the Sangre Guard. He's going to be able to benefit Terminators, whereas the Death Company captain's only ever going to benefit Death Company. So I think I'd probably do what you said there, Danny, is think about the Chaplain on the bike here. Actually, yeah, you're probably right. Maybe just give him what's the Relic Crozius again? Benediction of Fury. Maybe just give him Benediction of Fury and be done with it. And well, you'd actually be upgrading him to the Master of Sanctity for 5 more points as well. So he's allowed 2 Warlord traits. So give him Benediction of Fury, give him Mantra of Strength, and like something else that's going to be beneficial. And then you're on a 4 damage weapon with 6s doing mortals. You can give him Imperium Sword as well, but I don't think I would. I think the point of discussing this captain is to try and do it without blowing 2 CP, right? Because I feel like if you aren't going to run any troops, you need to add Rites of War somewhere else. Unless, of course, you give him unless the Primaris Chaplain on the bike is calling Hammer of Wrath and Rites of War, then that's possibly better. But I don't like running lists without any obsec. I don't even really like running just Rites of War as your only source of obsec as well. But I mean, 1,250 points makes it difficult. In terms of a 1,000-point list, I was going to use the Primaris Chaplain on a bike. Yeah, go for it. He's a good character, Kudo. I prefer Chapter Master myself, but I think a lot of people swear by and have been using the Chaplain on a bike for a while. I actually used to run a list where I had the Chaplain on a bike and the Chapter Master in it. I just felt like I had too many characters. It wasn't necessarily I didn't like the Chaplain, I just thought I had too many characters. Okay, so that's Matthew's 1250 list. So yeah, that was cool today. We had a 1,000-point list, we had a 1250 list, and we also had a list with Tycho the Lost, because apparently we've all been sleeping on him. Life is going to share his tournament scoring with Tycho the Lost. We'll find out just exactly how good he is. is a good combo running too, but you had to protect them. I actually prefer Unleash Wings Imperium Sword version. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think Wings and Unleash Rage, to me, feel like if you're going to take a Psyker, those two powers are like the ones that give us the most value. Because we always talk about maneuverability gives us the most strength as a Blood Angels, and then Unleash anything that we can give our units to do more damage is generally going to be pretty useful. When all our units do a lot of damage in melee, giving them exploding sixes is just generally really nice. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks so much for being here tonight, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the lists. Next week we have Brew and Biscuit, Inks, Jason, Luke, Michael, and Terrence Watkins. There's no list submitted yet for the week after, so if you want to go ahead and submit a list at some point soonish this week, then we'll get you in the week after. And maybe we'll have a balanced data slate to talk about. And I've got some other videos coming out this week, as always. And we might be live on Wednesday, 50-50 yet. If we're not live for a live game on Wednesday, maybe we'll do a painting stream on Wednesday instead of Thursday this week or something. But we are going to get squats on the channel as soon as possible. As soon as Andrew's ready with the squats, that's going to happen as well. And I'll keep you updated, Highland Phoenix, on my tournament list. I mean, I might have the Gladiator in time for the tournament, but I'm not sure I'll get any real chance to play with it. I don't know the best variant. So the Gladiator may make an appearance near the end of... Probably... It might make an appearance probably sometime after the tournament, so about the middle of next month. But Mike assures me that I'm going to be able to make it all three variants of it. Like, he's magnetized the whole thing, so I can make any of the three variants. So, just for you, we'll start with the Reaper. But I'm probably gonna... The Reaper's not even the cheapest one, right? The Reaper's 180, the Valiant's 200, and the Lancer is like 150. The thing is, I feel like, because I've got that Laser Destroyer there, I feel like if I'm gonna run a Laser Destroyer, I'm just gonna run a Laser Destroyer over the Lancer. But I guess we'll see. 3 shots hitting on 3s versus 2 shots hitting on 2s. Yeah. Oh, you're very welcome for the videos. I'll update that spreadsheet as well with the color coding for the secondaries, because obviously a few people were asking about that. And I'll share it in the Discord, and I'll share it on the Facebook group as well, so you can just download the screenshot. I'll do that tomorrow night probably. Cool. All right. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. I will see you sometime this week, sure. All right. By blood, army strong. Peace.